All the best, guys. Let's dive into it. Boom.
All right, nice. So yeah, I mean, sorry, I got a bit of a cold at the moment.
No worries, man, dude. I've been
sound pretty dodgy.
super stuffed recently, like super stuffed. I hate it. I hate it because then you get all groggy and then you try to do anything and it's like you sound like, hey, yeah. So I was thinking about for this, it's not pretty. Hot baths, dude. Hot baths are killer.
Yeah, man. So yeah, let's kick this off. Let's start. Why not?
Let's give it a go.
So I guess my first question is, for me, I started when I was pretty young, and I know you started pretty young as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
For Magic.
Hold on. Oh shit. Sorry. I think I just took a screenshot. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to figure this out, man. I'm so not technological savvy.
That's a fantastic picture, man.
Hold on. How do you put this on full screen? Whatever. I think I can see you fine. How did I get started?
So how did you get into Magic?
Yeah, man. So I was always obsessed with the idea of supernatural ability, and more than anything, super obsessed with the idea of superheroes. Kind of the whole infatuation with the idea of a normal person having this overhuman power. You know what I'm talking about? This thing that they can turn on and off. I was always really enamored with that, and so I was 10 years old, ironically enough, in London, in Covent Garden. You've been, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
A lot of street performers, a lot of like people, doing different things and so forth. And I saw this guy who had a crowd maybe of like around 50 people around him, and it was super interesting, man. Simply because I snuck my way to the middle of the crowd, like right in front of him, and he did the disappearing handkerchief.
Oh yeah.
Cloth, this red cloth. He put it all the way inside his hand, and he opened his hand, and the fucking thing was gone. And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I understand. Like every kid goes through that sort of magic phase where suddenly what you've been taught with your parents or what your spectrum, your paradigm of the world gets a little bit shaken up. But I was so ridiculously obsessed with that. It hooked me right at the moment. And so I literally stopped his show, like, and he tried to keep going. Mind you, this was, 10-year-old Danny who didn't really speak English that well. And I was like, you gotta tell me how on earth.
Just stop the show straight away.
And I was like, what is going on? Into magic, like obviously, it's a very easy concept, but that's why I always tell people it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. And this guy did it so brilliantly, but more than anything, he gave me a huge gift. And that was that he actually did stop the show and he said, okay, fine, kid. There's a magic store down the corner. I'm not sure if it's still in Covent Garden or so, but it's like one of those little trucks. I went there. I bought that same trick, the handkerchief trick. Then I bought the floating match, and I remember that I was
on the card. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that one, man. When I was a kid, I loved that.
Dude, it's so brilliant because you like to all you guys, basically that don't know, it's this card that you can bend. And when you bend it, you can suspend a match or a needle or whatever it is on a pencil maybe on top of it, and you can put the card below to show that there's no strings. You can put the card above, and it's super crazy. I was practicing that on the tram on the way back to the hotel, and there was this lady who was kind of watching me practice, and I just remember her like doing one of these like. You know what I'm talking about? She just had like the biggest reaction ever, and I was like, "Yes, attention, attention!"
You're damn right, yeah.
I loved it, man. I loved it. I love that feeling that it gives. It doesn't matter if you're like the president of a country or like a person on the street or whatever it is. Like magic makes you feel like a kid. I'm enamored with that. Yeah, or it opens up your mind. It kind of takes away all your problems and then like just focuses you in the moment. I think subconsciously that's always something I'm super attracted to as well.
Yeah, that sounds cool, man. Do you still find like, I know you do a lot of like, you go up to strangers in the street and stuff. I've never done that myself.
Oh, best thing. It's the best thing. You got to try it. Yeah.
Do you get nervous doing that stuff, or do you find that you're so used to it now that you just do it like that?
So okay, there is. I think I've been doing it now. Humble brag, for like 14 years, and professionally for like 12. Simply because I started. It's ironic. I started performing professionally when I was 12, and I'm 24 now. So it it's funny. You would think nerves die off, but they never do. At least for me, I'm always nervous shit. Like before, but it's always like psyching myself out. I kind of it's the process, it's the work, especially not necessarily going to the street because going to the street I'm very very comfortable simply because I can approach people most of the time, or not most of the time, but I would say maybe 30% of the time that they tell me to fuck off, because it's a stranger. They basically think I'm going to sell them something. And so I always come up with like clever ways to kind of like break their walking pattern or so. And then whether it's like jumping in front of them or doing something that kind of shocks them. So it's like, hey, stop for a second. We're about to have a really cool experience. I hope you can join me.
Okay.
And so that's always really comfortable. But what I do find myself getting super worked up about is like whenever I do live shows or talk shows or whatever it is. But every single time, I got to remember this. It's I prepare, I prepare, I prepare. But then the moment I step onto stage or onto the shoot or onto whatever it is, it kind of all goes away, and I'm just like in the moment, and that's when you're kind of like clicking when you're vibing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that moment where you're not really you, but kind of like it takes over, and that's really cool. That's a really cool feeling. And when you're balling, when it's going down the drain, then you're very conscious. You're like, oh, shit, like,
Yeah.
it's me right now. Uh, ambitious card. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Uh,
I mean, I do find like as soon as you get into the first trick, as soon as it hits,
right.
and that's when you're like, okay, I'm in now. I'm into it. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. It's yeah, man. It's finding that click and going with it. It's
Yeah.
you got to prepare, 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 and arrogantly, actually, like in my younger days, uh, being like maybe 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, uh, I didn't really used to prepare for shit because I was always so confident in my skill that it created arrogance, and it created like, oh, I'm Daniel Fernandez. I don't need to practice or I don't need to prepare simply because, I can talk my way in or out of everything. And dude, that is the most arrogant fucking thing you could do. Like the most arrogant thing, and I got humbled in a really like life has a way of fucking humbling you. You know what I'm talking about? It has a way of like punching you in the fucking face and being like, yo, this is not gonna fly anymore. Absolutely,
Yeah.
gotta like to a certain degree take advantage of the talents you have, absolutely, but you gotta prepare, man. I tell it to every young magician, like prepare, fucking work on your craft, work on yourself. Don't let it be something that you kind of just naturally rely on, but rather fucking work it. And nerves are good, to go back to your question. Yeah,
Yeah.
it means you fucking care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the kind of
By the
on
way,
that sort
my
of
God, I just like I'm passionate about this shit, so I always yeah.
it's really nice to be able to talk to someone like yourself in that sort of world as well. Just there's not loads of people out there like that, so it's nice to be able to have this conversation.
Dude, it's just such a niche craft. That's kind of part of the reason what I. Sorry, my face is being covered by huge shadows. So many post-its on my window, like so many flashcards and shit that I have to like get done, and it's like.
Just dodging, yeah.
But I know I'm like. Uh, but yeah, man, it's such a niche craft that I think people, it impacts people in a very different way. So I think than anything else. If you're an actor, yeah, no one's gonna ask you to do a fucking monologue or a scene in the middle of a party. If you're a singer, very rarely are people gonna ask you to sing on the spot. If you are any other sort of art, whether it's painting, engineering, whatever it is, like you don't really do your art unless you're like a freestyler or something where people can kind of put you on the spot or so. But magic connects with people in a spontaneous, very impromptu way, in a way that really no other craft does. So it's really nice to get like talk to people that like know the craft and like kind of like share stories about like what you do when shit goes south, or like recovery when food breaks, or whatever it is, like, the fucking gimmick ran out of battery or whatever the fuck it is. It's like your outs are everything, Yeah.
On that kind of topic, I guess, like we always have some stuff that doesn't work out quite how you want it to, right? What's the most like awkward thing do you reckon's ever happened, if you could think of something?
Holy shit, dude. Wait, the most awkward thing as far as magic, like
Yeah.
as far as a performance. Dude, I don't tell this story ever, but I was just telling this story the other day. And it goes back to the question about nerves and the question about, like, more than anything, like the answer about preparation. Arrogant fucking Danny gets a movie deal, basically, where, like, for all of those who don't know, in the live and here in your podcast, a majority of the work that I do is, products or services or films or whatever tell me, hey, Dan, so we have this thing coming out. We want you to create a piece based around this, and then we're going to sit you down with the actors, or we're going to sit you down with the product, and we want you to go ahead and fucking tackle it. And I'm like, yo, fucking love that, simply because I get to do magic with people I admire, and I get to create craft. And so, yeah, man, there was this movie coming out. This video will never see the light of day, knock on wood. But I was always enamored with the idea of Russian roulette. For those of you who don't know, that's where you take 4 silicone or fucking what is that called? Styrofoam cups, and you put a fucking nail under one of them.
Oh man, I've never attempted it. I don't like.
Well, my method is really quite tricky and different. At first, you started with like using gimmicks or using sort of like pre-forces or something like that. But then I started getting into the real shit, and I was like, yo, okay, we're gonna do this for real. Like, I'm confident, And this was like 15-year-old Danny being like, yo, fuck yeah, nothing can go wrong. Had a previously bad experience, but nothing really bad happened. So it was like I kept attempting it. And so, in the lack of preparation leading up to this film, which was actually a horror film, I watched the film, and very arrogantly, I was like, oh, this film kind of sucks. The acting kind of sucks. Everything about it kind of sucks. I don't need to prepare. I'm just going to kind of play it by ear. But the film was very much around the idea of how when you make a choice, it kind of has a deep impact in where the fuck you're going to go, or where you're going in your destiny. How decisions drive the direction of your destiny. So it was like, this is a perfect opportunity to do Russian roulette.
Okay, I see you thinking.
I get the set. I meet the actresses. They're super nice. One of them had actually seen the videos before, so that kind of boosts my ego, and I'm like, oh, okay, great. This is gonna go great, right? So I explained to them the idea about decisions and direction and everything like that, and I explained to them the idea. Hold on, I'm so sorry. Shouting out some people. Sheldon, hi, how are you? Harita Dayan, how are you? Much love to Pakistan. How you doing? Inspired to be better. Eddie Rish. Silvet, how are you guys? How are you? How are you? How are you? Say hi, Chris.
Shouts out. How's it going, guys?
Yes. Okay, so back to it. I get to it, man, and I tell them basically like, yo, we're gonna basically make decisions. We're gonna put this fucking nail under one of the cups. I'm gonna turn my back. I want you guys to shuffle them, but only one of you is gonna get to know where the nail is. I'm gonna turn my back, and you guys, none of us are gonna know. The girl that I was gonna do it with, like, we literally did not know. So I get to it, feeling it out, and then I crash my hand against the first one, and I stomp my hand against one of the cups, and they just start freaking the fuck out. They're like, ah! Like the reactions. I mean, when you're doing Russian roulette, 2 centimeters away from a person, very, 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 very powerful. But there was a little bit of tension, and then there was a spot where I decided to get a little cocky, and I was like, okay, now that we have 1 down, 3 to go, actress whose name I won't mention, do you mind if I see your hand? And so I grabbed her hand, and suddenly it turned off. That thing that I was talking about, like sometimes when you're in a flow, and then sometimes like it turns off when you're like bombing or about to bomb, because suddenly
Yeah.
you're aware of everything. You're not like focused on the thing that you're doing, but rather you're focused on fucking, like everything else, the lights, the cameras, the your breath. You're focused on like the sweat between your toes. That's the worst thing you could do when you're doing like this,
Yeah.
because there's massive risk involved, especially when you're doing it with others. And it kind of turned off, but I was like, trek through it, trek through it. So I grabbed her hand and I put it down in a cup. And usually, what I do in that routine is like, I grab their hands and I slam it down against the cup, right?
Mm.
And dude, call it God, call it Buddha, call it Allah, I call it Jesus fucking Christ, call it cosmic energy, whatever you want to call it. I call it a perfect stand back in the simulation, I guess you could call it. I didn't slam her hand down, but I rather went very slowly.
Mm.
And she said, "Ow." And I kind of,
Oh man.
huh. I was like, "Oh, you're messing with me. Of course. You're messing with me." And I kind of pushed down a little harder, and she was like, "Ow." And then I'm like, "Whoa, okay, maybe you're not messing with me." This was, of course, all nonverbal communication. I lift her hand, and there's like a little dot. No blood, but sometimes like the equivalent of like
A
putting
red
pressure
dot.
on my hand.
Okay.
I'm like, she pulls her hand away, and there's a fucking nail sticking in her hand. And I'm like, my my privates were in my throat, dude. Really.
Oh man.
Uh, but dude, trek through it. I kind of made a joke about it. Thankfully, they laughed. I kind of pushed all the cups to the side, and I was like, "Well, that's gonna work one day." And her friend started laughing, like genuinely laughing, and she was like kind of uncomfortably laughing. Then I did some other stuff. I closed it out. I wrote her a letter that day. I gave it her to PR, like apologizing. I was like, "Look, I've done this before on so many people. I apologize. I legitimately don't know what went wrong." I called my mom afterwards, dude, and I was like, "Mom, I'm done with magic. Fuck this. I don't want to do this." And yeah, man, that was a slap in the face of like, yo, preparation is everything, and don't rely on talent, because talent will fail you if you're not skilled. Skill is something you can control. Skill comes from hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of beating on your craft. You know what I'm talking about? That's
Yeah.
sexy. That's attractive to me, because that is literally, it's not something you were born with. It's not your skin color. It's not your race. It's not your religion. It's not anything. It's your fucking choice to be skilled. So be skilled, because at points talent will fail you. So yeah, man, that video never saw the light of day. I didn't take the pay for it. I just felt horrible about it. Yeah. So
Oh man, that.
yeah,
I mean, it could have gone a lot worse, couldn't it? So
yeah, man,
that's
absolutely.
pretty lucky. That's
Yeah,
an eye opener for sure.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Oh man. Well, there you go. That's the wake up call then.
that's a
At
wake.
that time.
Up. Seriously.
Those ones, see, like you always see and hear about stuff with Russian roulette, and it's always one of the riskiest ones to do.
Dude, have you seen the video? I mean, you've seen the fail videos, of course, right?
Yeah.
For all those of you who are just coming in, it's like, yeah, the spike trick, basically the nail under the cuffs or so forth. There's some videos of some people like, poking other people's hands, and like the people end up getting like fucking nerve damage and stuff. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's
It,
absolutely horrible. And like, no, man, I'm so grateful. There's been two times now that I've messed up with that trick, and I don't want to go for a third.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's fair enough, man.
yeah.
So, I think recently you said about you're kind of looking at coming up with new stuff now. So you're focusing on the craft and coming up with new stuff.
Yeah,
For me, like when I try and invent something new, I'm like, I lock myself in the room, I'm there, and I know what I want to do, and then I try and work backwards. Okay, like maybe I can do it this way, and I try it out, and it
You
doesn't quite
reverse
work.
engineer it.
Pardon?
You reverse engineer it.
Yeah, yeah. So, what's kind of your process? Is that how you do it?
You know, recently I so when I'm doing a jam or when I'm like simply like I love legitimately man, I gotta show you this. I built this massive wooden table in like my apartment, which we turned into like an office space now because I'm gonna be moving out. But basically, I love giant wooden tables where you can just sit with friends and like just try stuff. You know, shying away from like double lifts and forces and all that stuff, and try like real stuff. What kind of stuff do you do, by the way? Is it like visual card magic, coin stuff, mentalism? What is it?
I I prefer mentalism. So most of my stuff is like mentalism, mind reading, stuff like that. I do a bit of cold reading, things like that.
Dude, well, I'm obsessed with mentalism, so I think we're gonna have
Oh, good stuff.
like
Okay.
mentalism is my thing. Like I love that stuff.
See,
So
for me, I kind of like, I really like stuff that is like, it could be real. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Stuff that's so impossible, but you're also like, yeah, maybe there is something to that. Whereas
right,
with kind of like coin magic or like card magic and make something disappear,
yeah.
it's a bit like, yeah, that's cool, but you know, that is a magic trick.
There's a place for it all. There's a place for it all. You know, one of the
Yeah.
things I'm trying to do currently is kind of like branching out and not just doing mentalism stuff, but rather like really branching out. But yeah, man, I would say for the past 2 years, I've gotten really obsessed with like the actual real stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Not talking about subtleties or not talking about, subconscious or stuff like, but actually trying it out. And the only way to try that out is when you have an audience whom you've already proved yourself to by doing all the BS, right? And
Mm.
then they trust you, you're comfortable with them, and you're not scared to fail. You know? Whenever you're doing stuff like, I don't know, Diver Non or stuff like Eugene Berger, rest in peace, or all these legends of craft, or even taking concepts from like Darren Brown or something like that, and like really applying not the envelope stuff and the pre-force stuff, no, but the real stuff, dude. That is my favorite thing on earth. And when it
100%. So true, man.
when they're with you on that ride, when they're with you and they're picking everything up and they're there with you and it's working, dude, nothing makes you feel like more of a I hate to use this expression, but I guess it's the only way to say it, like a superior being good. You know what I'm talking about? You're like, yo, this is awesome. Like this is so good because
Yeah.
this sort of real control over your audience. Of course, all for entertainment, but it's like that's really cool, man. So to answer your question about preparation, like how I kind of go about it, um, it really varies, man. Sometimes when I'm in a performance, I'm like, okay, what would I really like to do right now? And that I could work on, whether it's like creating a tableau, like creating a picture, or whether creating a phrase, or whether creating like some sort of effect. Like I always like to, quote unquote, take it a step further, right? So I'm like, once it's completely finished, how would I take this a step further? And then you try it,
Okay, yeah.
but then you have kind of like an idea that seeds into something bigger, you know? What
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this year on YouTube is that I'm going to start releasing a lot of the stuff that I've been working on. A lot of like the concept stuff and a lot of like the raw, uncut performances and stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to that. Like really looking forward to that. Simply just to see how people react to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Way from like the people that I'm directly doing it to. But dude, I trek on it again. You got to go to the streets, stop a few people, share it with them. Nothing's gonna make your day or their day brighter, especially. So it's just try it, man. You have nothing to lose.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, man. It's so interesting that you say about, when you have an effect and you often you think it's perfect and you're like, okay, yeah, this is good. I like this. And then sometimes I'll find like as I'm performing, I'll just think of something then and I'm like, oh yeah, actually I could add this in at the end.
Right.
And you just keep adding to it and it keeps getting bigger.
Dude, it keeps layers, man. Layers on layers on layers. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
you
definitely.
layer it, it's so much more powerful than just like, I don't know. For young magicians, it does make sense that they would do it exactly the way it's taught in the DVD or the book, or like, and they use the same pattern and everything like that. But dude, when you can find your voice, like your voice, see what works, and then build on that, meaning like building your stuff on it, like making your moves happen, making your subtleties happen, whatever it is, like making it yours. That's real magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Well,
Who is it like, you're saying how you're kind of into your mentalism stuff, but you want to branch out a bit and use all different types.
yeah.
So who's your like inspiration for that? For
Cyril.
me, I'd say like I really like, as you said, Darren Brown and stuff. I don't know if you know of Luke Jamay. He's
Right.
like one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a beast. He's a beast.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure if it was like touching on Oi or whatever it was, but like a lot of his routines, a lot of his earlier routines or so, that's what kind of made me fall in love with like the idea of mental. Sorry, man, I'm charging my stuff right now. It's kind of like, hold on, dude, are we back? Are we back? I think we're back. I hope so. Anyway,
Technological issues.
I know, man. See, just trying to feed it on all platforms. I don't know if this is working, but hopefully, okay. Live viewer ended. Who cares? Okay, hold on. We're gonna start it again.
Get it back up, man.
Okay, we're back. We're live again. Hey, hi, Chris.
We're back. We're alive again.
That's it. For all those of you who don't know, we are doing an interview about magic. So if you're interested in if you're interested in the craft, if you're interested in just like a creative process, tune in. Let's get back to it. I don't know how I'm gonna balance this now with the charger, but hopefully it works. Okay.
Gotta balance it out.
Yeah, man, that's another part of life, isn't it? All right, so yeah, man, it was inspiration for branching out is definitely someone like Cyril.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know Cyril.
That's cool. I don't know. No, I've never heard, but
What? Oh my lord, dude, you are in for a trip. You've definitely seen his stuff. Do you remember the guy who put his hand through the aquarium?
oh yeah.
And
I remember this.
the guy who does like the burger trick and everything like that.
Pulls like the burger out of the poster.
That's it.
The one?
Yeah, you've definitely seen his work. He is he's a legend, dude. He's a legend. He's a legend in every regard. And he was doing this stuff with like a 2-camera setup back in like the late 90s, early 2000s and stuff. And it was all his magic is obviously in Japanese. But what I like about him is that he throws in a few words of like English or so forth, but he was such a tableau artist, meaning like he created beautiful photos. Because the magic trick, a lot of people think the magic trick is this frame. You see all the fucking magicians on Instagram like doing magic at this frame. Oh, look at me. I'm so cool with my cards and so forth. It's like, no, dude, no. At least for me, right? That has its place, of course, and it's actually really cool stuff. But for me, it's like about the picture that you create with your audience. He was so grand and so beautifully crafted in the point where you didn't need to understand a single word that he was saying to understand exactly what was going on. And
yeah, that's nice.
he is my inspiration as far as like was I would say simply. I don't think he's much in the game anymore, but for visual artistry, for creating these like incredible, stunning visuals that I've never really done in my career. Like I do like a lot of like hard hit, like heavy hitting mentalism and so forth, but it's the visual aspect about it, that's something that I'm really, really excited to like deeply dive into, because that when you can connect with the spectator here, more than anything here, that's when you have something really special. So of course, and then you for mentalism, you have people like Corinda or Brown or you know, I don't know, man, just a million Asi Wind. There's a lot of special
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah. Big names, big
Yeah.
names. I definitely like that. I remember seeing there was a video you do. I think you like read a name. I think the name was like Lovely or something. I don't know if you remember this. And you had it written on your hand as well. You had like Lovely written on your hand. Yeah.
That's the video that got me on the Ellen show. Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that one I was like, that's a really nice video, man, because it obviously like really connected with her.
Struck a chord. Her friend had been kidnapped, actually. I
Oh
had no
wow.
idea. I had no idea. Obviously, when you're talking to the person and like you're kind of like feeling out what she is saying, and you notice that there's something there. And I was like, bring it out, bring it out, bring it out. And she did, and what a beautiful moment. But she actually, nothing. There's something that I read yesterday actually, which is so true. Like there is no meaning for anything except the meaning you give it. Life really is interpretation. It's how you interpret it, what you choose to do with that information, and that's the meaning that you give shit. You know what I'm talking about? So for her, the meaning of us meeting and like us having this moment where her best friend's name, who was kidnapped, showed up on my hand, meant that everything was going to be okay. Or that's what she told me at the end of the video, and that's
Okay.
super powerful, man. Super, super
Yeah.
powerful. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But that specific one, that's the one that like the Ellen producers were like, "Yo, okay, come through."
Get
Yeah,
this guy in. Yeah. Get this guy
yeah.
in.
Which I ended up doing like a very similar routine on the show. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So you've done a lot of videos with other celebrities as well, right?
yeah.
I guess the question is,
Wait,
who was like,
are you implying I'm a celebrity?
huh?
Are you implying I'm a celebrity by saying other celebrities? No,
Oh, who knows, man?
I've got like fucking 30 viewers right now on my live. I love every single one of you, but no, by no means have I gotten to the point yet. By no means. No, no, no. Yeah. But tell me,
Well, I
tell
guess the question is, who was the funnest to perform for? You know?
me. Ooh. Hmm. I don't know, man. It really depends. It really depends on the scenario. And because sometimes it's very different when you're like performing at a premiere and you kind of like doing a cold approach, like, hey, how are you? I admire your work. Do you like magic by chance? That's
Yeah.
cool, but there's also kind of a barrier. But when you go to like the houses and stuff, and like they know what's coming because like they invited you or something like that. That's very cool because like they're immediately like open up to it, and you could do this, and it's like, what's going on? You know what I'm talking about. So it's kind of a mix, man. It's a give and take. One notable one already is Jablinski. He just started his YouTube channel, Black Black. Um,
Oh yeah. Okay.
he is such a character, man. He was so on and so intrigued by the whole thing, and he gave me some really, really good pointers afterwards, and as far as like career stuff, and like genuinely was just completely in it. You know what I'm talking about? That was a really, really cool one. Margot Robbie, really cool one, like completely in it. You know what I'm talking about? Like, and that scenario was a little bit different simply because you have like literally, fucking Brad Pitt or Jay-Z walking past you, and like it's a packed fucking room, and she's just on it, like on you completely. I really admire people like that. Uh,
Yeah.
um, yeah, man. There's quite a few, but those are two notable ones for sure.
Oh, good stuff, man. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, man.
So what's the plan from here, man? Are you gonna I know you put your goals out on your notes and that. Probably got them on the window at the moment, right?
Lots. I'll show. Let me see. Actually, I don't want to touch the computer simply because we have a very nice Instagram set up right now. I don't want to touch it, but yeah, actually, you can see them all portrayed right here. Um,
It's a
yeah,
lot of goals, man.
you know, I'm very much not about speaking about things that are yet to happen, but
Okay.
rather I used to be. Holy shit, dude! I used to be like, oh, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this every time I got an email or so, just like as an invitation, like as a potential opportunity. I used to tell my friends and my parents and stuff. And dude, one thing I learned about Hollywood is that things get fucking Hollywood all the time. You know, meaning like it gets chopped for one reason or another. Like things fall through. And so
Yeah.
you gotta have a tough fucking chin, take it like a man, and keep trekking forward. One of the things that I'm super excited about is this. I'll give you guys a sneak peek. This is actually the first time I'm announcing it, dude. Like,
Oh, this is big. Okay.
so there is something really beautiful, man. I think one of the things I always say in my videos, and hopefully one of the things that you guys connect with, is that know where you are, then know where you want to be. Get from your point A to your point B, then get to work, get to grinding, get to doing. In other words, dream big, but do much bigger. The idea of alchemizing whatever it is that you have in your head, fucking alchemize it into real life. That is what drives me. So we're launching a line. It is fashion. It is education as far as like in the magic space, and it is self-help, a line that basically encompasses craft and building yourself up, which is called credo. That is the Latin word for creed, the words that you live by, which is in fact dream big, do bigger. And the first product is this hat right here. This is
Okay, nice.
yeah, man, it's really, really cool. So we've got, yeah, man, it's completely made out of leather, really, really beautiful stuff, really amazing force on the inside for all the magicians in there. Really, really cool force actually on the inside. But the emblem is this. This is actually the outline of Mount Everest, and there's a
Okay.
compass in the middle of the mountain that instead of saying northeast, southwest, it has it's DBDB. And the very top of it, let me see if I can get it in the light here. The very top of it is actually B. It's very detailed, so I don't know if you could see it very well on camera. And I'm going to show you guys first. And
Oh yeah. Okay.
I'm going to show you guys. But basically, it says dream big, do bigger across the outline. It says credo at the bottom, the mountain of Everest. And then it has little circles around it to go for orbits. And then there is the peak of Mount Everest, which is like, yo, reach as far as you can on foot, but then go above and beyond. Go above the sun, go above the stars, go above the constellations, and then at the very end is a little rocket signifying people going above and beyond to where they want to go. So we're really excited about this, man.
Really cool, man. I really like that. Did you come up with that design?
Yeah. Completely, completely. I mean, I wear it all the time. I wear black hats all the time, and it's like, why, why not? You know what I'm talking about? Why not? I'm a very, I think fashion is very much a craft and an art, obviously, and I love minimalistic designs. And so, people ask me all the time on YouTube, like, what do you wear? What shoes are those? What this? So I'm like, why don't I fully customize it to what I would wear, to what I wear every single day, and launch this beautiful thing that hopefully comes about. So there's that coming around. This is a fact. It's not something that may or may not happen. That's why I'm comfortable talking about it. We have a deck of cards in the works. Uh, I'll actually I'll show you just a small,
Oh, a sneak preview.
just a sneak peek of what that looks like. It is a deck completely made for magicians by magicians. Uh, Man, this Instagram thing keeps falling. Stay. Very, very short sneak peek. Not supposed to be doing this, but
Oh man,
that's
that's
the
good.
back of the cards. It
Yeah,
looks
that's really good.
absolutely beautiful, and it is the idea. The idea is gorgeous, man. The idea behind it is very, very powerful, and it is very much around like know where you are, know where you want to be, get to work, get to ground, and get to doing. It's around the idea of constellations and basically the grind and propelling yourself forward. And so I'm super stoked about that. We got the hats, got the decks. Coming up with a pair of shoes. Some stuff, man. But it's all stuff very minimalistic in design, but with a massive, massive, massive message behind it. I take that back. The deck is actually super detailed and not minimalistic at all. But as far as the line goes, so there's that avenue. Also, one thing that I've said on Twitter all the time, and I say it on YouTube, I think film is the purest form of magic.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as a magician, we work to sell you an illusion. But as a filmmaker, it's hundreds, if not thousands of people working together to sell this idea, you know, to sell this story. And I've, even more so than magic, film has always been my first love. You know, it's always the thing, like when I was 5 years old, that hooked the fuck out of my life. And so very, very aggressively stepping into that this year. Super, super cool stuff. As well as you know, we're bouncing around with ideas of like monthly subscription boxes. Definitely a lot of live shows that people are going to
cool. Okay.
instead of doing, like, because I always do corporate, I always do private and stuff, but people always ask, like, where can we see you live? And I never have an answer simply because I don't do it, you know. So it's I'm excited to step into that realm. And more than anything, man, creating new magic, man. Creating new magic. We also have a podcast coming that's launching, I think, at the end of this month. It's called the DBDV Podcast. And more than it's just, I asked myself one question, man. How can I add more value than anyone else in my space? You know, like literally more value. How can I add? How can I give more? And people ask all the time for all these different assets, and I'm like, oh no, I'm so sorry. This is what I do. This is my box. That's what I do. I'm a magician. No, fuck that. You know, I love fashion. I absolutely love film. I absolutely love talking about how people got on their grind. And so let's fucking do it. You know, but one of the things that is true is that we're not moving on to the next thing before completing the first thing. And so it's one project at a time. You know what I'm talking? So it's exciting.
Yeah, take it one at a time.
Yeah.
That sounds good, man. That's really exciting stuff.
Yeah,
That's
man.
really good stuff.
Yeah, I'm
I
excited.
guess we'll finish up with kind of, if there's one thing that you'd say to people starting out in magic. For me, you know, I'd say a bit like what you were saying about working on your craft and like perseverance, because when you're in that practice stage, it's really tough. You know, when things aren't going well and you're trying to learn like a move, or you're trying to learn something like a card trick,
Right.
you got to stick at it before it gets good. And you go through a real pain period where you're getting so frustrated and so annoyed with it. But yeah, what would you say? Is there anything you would want to add to that for people starting out?
I think it's this, man. I think it's just this. Uh, every kid goes kind of through the magic stage, and very few continue it. I would say three things. Embrace the fuck out of it. You know, magic is an unfair social skill, unlike anything else. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the interview, there's nothing like it. You know, it's a beautiful, powerful, incredible craft that allows instant happiness in people and wonder more than anything. When do people, dude? When do people wonder? Honestly, like when in life do people wonder? Sometimes they wonder with relationships, like they get so infatuated with this person and they have all this wonder and like curiosity about them. When else? When they watch a movie, maybe subtly, gently, they wonder what the plot is or where the series is going to go. Or Game of Thrones, holy fuck, like that's a massive wonder. Wonder where it's going. But very few times in life people are allowed to wonder. So embrace the craft. Secondly, I would say this: find your voice. When I was younger, I used to do magic like this, and kind of have like this demeanor and everything like that. Wait, Elle, is that you? Wait, 1 second, 1 second. Give me 1 second. Sorry. What's up, brother? How are you? Come here. We're doing interviews. So, second thing I would say, yeah, man, find your voice. Don't be scared to try new things. Don't be scared to stop relying on the things that you learned and actually, like, quote unquote failing. By the way, I don't believe in failure. Get that fucking shit out of your mind. It doesn't exist. You fail when you decide to give up. You know, you fail when you decide to stop trying, because who the fuck knows if the next time that you try is the time that it's going to work. You know, let go of the idea of failure, try new things, find your voice, be appreciative of the craft and what it brings to yourself and to people. And thirdly, I would say do it, man, like I would approach this question the way I would approach this. What would I tell like 13, 12-year-old Danny that was like starting out in his career? If this is really what you want to do with your life, if you're a young magician and you've established that it's not a phase, but rather like you see yourself doing this, I would say this, accumulate the moments. Yeah, accumulate the moments. Don't get so caught up in what you're doing and trying to get it right. You know what I'm talking about? Like you could focus so much on a move, you could focus so much on like a certain thing or a certain, a certain peak or whatever the fuck. You can focus so much on the technicality, but focus rather on the moment that you're experiencing with that person, because that's the only thing you have, really. The moment that you have with that person at that one time, the wonder that you're bringing to them, all the things that we've talked about for the past hour, all of it accumulates to this pinnacle. You know what I'm talking about? It all accumulates to this pinnacle, which is, in fact, the moment. Enjoy the fuck out of it. Write it down afterwards. Dude, I wish, oh my God, I had writings of whenever I started performing at birthday parties and weddings and stuff when I was 12, because those things were so beautiful and they're so bright and vivid in my mind, but I don't have them in words. So accumulate the moments, and dude, you're gonna have such a blessed life, because it's really a life of giving. You're giving so much to people. It's I just wish them all the luck in the world, all the balls in the world to go fucking go for it. So intentional. Telling parents like, hey, I'm not gonna go to school. I wanna do card tricks for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
really portray yourself, and if you really work the craft, those 52 will take you fucking far.
Words to live by, man. Words to live by.
Yeah, brother. Dude,
Sure.
thank you for your time, brother. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Seriously.
And you, man, and you. It's been real nice talking to someone who's on the same wavelength.
Absolutely, man. My pleasure completely. Yes. Do you guys want to meet someone? Come here. Come meet oh, you're wearing Gymshark. Yes. Come here. This is one of the team of the DBDB team, young Elia Kanu. What's up? This is the first time we're seeing each other. So say hi to the podcast. Hey, podcast. Say hi to the Instagram. Hello, Instagram. That's it. How are you? This is Elia Kanu. This is the boy. But man, Chris, thank you so much. Chris, sign off right here on Instagram. Say bye-bye to the peeps.
Thank you, guys. And thank you very much, Dan.
My dude, all the pleasure in the world. Seriously, thanks for reaching out. Love your vibe. And let's see if we can put something together when I'm there or when you're here.
Definitely, man. Next time you're in London, we'll grab a beer.
I'm so keen for it. Or a whiskey.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, man.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.